some sort of board removal. Sunfall. Yes. That's definitely okay. See, people just have no patience. How's it going, everyone? I'm Sfor, and today we're going to Milltown. That's right. We're going to be milling our opponent to death. And it's the perfect answer, I feel, to this current standard meta right now. Everyone wants to try out their awesome creature-based deck. We have Sephiroth, we have Vivi, we have Yuna, we have Chocobos, etc. You know what takes care of all of those cards? Them not being able to play them. That's right. We're going to mill them to oblivion. And this deck is so good at that and a lot of fun to pilot. I am a sucker for mill decks. It may come across as a gimmick, but I feel like it is certainly an eternal or long-lasting archetype for Magic the Gathering that when it comes around and you see a mill deck, you may get frustrated, but at least you have some interaction, unlike Omniscience. There are, speaking of Omniscience, decks that rely on their graveyard, so why would we want to play a mill deck? And I thought about that, and I think it just ends up being so effective at what it does that you end up sweeping all of their combo pieces into the graveyard, at least hopefully. Now with Ghost Vacuum, we have the ability to kind of hand select, but when you're milling so many cards into a graveyard and they're relying on their graveyard, it becomes overwhelming to only be able to select one at a time to remove, or at least exile. But that's kind of what makes this fun. It's kind of a race against time. Of course, that's how mill decks typically run. But we have just a little bit more toys now. Let's look at one of them, the Water Crystal. So it's a legendary artifact. It is expensive. It's 4 mana. It does reduce the cost of blue spells, but that's not what we're after. We're after the fact that it can mill on top of your mills that you're already doing. It adds 4 cards to that. So what that means is it's really useful for other cards like Riverturn Monument who mill for a smaller amount, at least with their tap ability, not the exhaust, because if we're milling for 1 or 2, it'll be 1 plus 4 or 2 plus 4. And if we come out with a Jace or we use an exhaust on Riverturn, which ends up doing, let's say, 20 cards, well, it's just going to be 20 plus 4 or 15 plus 4. And hey, that's an extra 4 cards, which is nice, but those are kind of one-off mill conditions. And usually you're wanting to use your Jace or your Riverturn, at least the exhaust portion, to kind of just finish the game. But at least Riverturn has the ability to mill for 2 with a 1 mana tap. That's really nice because that just means it's not just 2 that they mill, it'll be 6. And that's going to add up really quickly. And of course, what if they do get their combo pieces or they do get their creatures onto the board? Well, that's where we have all of the removal that we could possibly have. We have Sunfall, we have Day of Judgment, Temporary Lockdown, we have Split Up, and then we have single target removal with Seal from Existence, which ends up being an enchantment that has Ward 3. Really nice. Of course, Get Lost, and then we have other staple cards, a few counter spells, and then some card draw. And the Authority of Consoles ends up being nice versus tokens or any kind of cheap aggro deck. We all know that. And, you know, it just ends up being extremely fun and effective. Usually your win condition is just patience or removing creatures from the board. After about the 3rd time, the opponent can usually scoop. They just lose patience and you're not even having to worry about mill. Now that's, I feel like mill is also almost a second win condition here over just pure removal. And that's why I like this deck. It's a lot of fun. I think it does really well. It has proven itself in Diamond. I really enjoy it. I think there's some possibilities with other piles with the Water Crystal. It may not fit like perfectly in this particular deck just because it is so expensive. However, it's fun. It has mill, and that's what I'm looking for in this case. There's one more secret to this deck that I want to show you guys, and it is Jador Aristocratic Capital. This is a land, it's a town, and it has an adventure where you can target the opponent and mill half of their library rounded down for 6 mana. Yeah, it's expensive, but it's a ridiculous card. It takes half of their deck and says goodbye, and that is awesome. It's a nice little surprise that most people may not be thinking about. Is it going to end the game immediately? No, it won't, but it is just a nice little touch to have. It also can just be used for the land. It does come in tapped, but hey, it's there. It's a one of. It's not doing any harm. With that being said, let's jump on to the ladder and see how this deck does. All right, what do we got here? I feel like we've got about everything we would want. Having Ghost Vacuum in your hand, opening hand, is really nice. I've been contemplating founding the third path. It doesn't hit, you know, the chapter 1 doesn't hit, but we're more interested in chapter 2 and due to the mill mechanic. We're going to be playing against aggro, so this is going to be a really good test. Thank goodness for Scry, because I will absolutely take a split up against an aggro deck. Because at the moment, we have our temporary lockdown, and it may not be enough, because once you clear a board, you're going to probably have to clear it again. That's just the way Standard works. It's insane how many, how much value, how many creatures can just pop up out of nowhere. This seems like a waste, but it must be done. Take a little damage, but that little guy can get out of control very quickly. Alright, let's see how many more creatures they have. Because you know they have them. Okay, that's not too scary. Well, unfortunately, lockdown will take our Ghost Vacuum. We don't need Ghost Vacuum this game, so let's not worry about that. However, Jace can come out and start plussing on these creatures, and hopefully doesn't bite us in the butt.
I will become subdued.
Because even though we can reduce the power of a creature, it's very easy for a mono red player to add on to that. Panic Vacuum. I'm gonna clean the house real quick. It's already clean. Yeah, there's some threats right there. Thankfully, we do have our temporary lockdown. I'm glad we saved it. It's better to use split whenever you know, there's less creatures to worry about. Wow, that's what broke you. Okay, all right. Okay, I wish it was always that easy to just cast a temporary lockdown. I get it though. I hate temporary lockdown. Playing against it, it's so effective at just destroying a board, not just creatures, but an entire board of things, you know. And sometimes when I see it come down, it is very, very anger inducing. Analyze the pollen. I am not quite sure what this deck could be. I see some scary colors over there. Black, white, blue, green. Alright, so we do have a counter we can hold. I do want to get Maze My Time going for the value, but it seems like a good counter spell. Okay, maybe Overlords. Overlord spotted. I don't think this is a Zuna deck. Or a Yuna deck. This is Zuna. I'm just making stuff up. Who knows, maybe Zuna is a character in Final Fantasy as well. Yuna's sister. Starting town turn 4. For whatever reason, my brain recognizes every single time I get a starting town draw on the 4th turn. I feel like that is funny, but it's something that my brain notices. It's like, it probably doesn't happen any more than it does, you know, getting it in your opening hand or turn 2 or 3, but it's not like I need it to come in untapped, so we're okay. There's one of our haymakers, so we're gonna definitely keep that on top. They just keep throwing Overlord over. Just more and more Overlords at us. I'm wondering if this is going to be a mill them to death or just get into their head and break them down. What we're about to do isn't going to be anything amazing, that's for sure, but we can draw with the Maze Mine. I don't want to mill for just 2 without having Water Crystal. Speaking of Water Crystal, hello. Okay, Zer, that's a problem. So is the Overlord. Thank goodness for some sort of board removal. Sunfall. Yes. That's definitely... Okay, see? People just have no patience. Okay. They're starting town in my opening hand. I like it. So yeah, like I was talking about earlier in the deck tech, this is not necessarily just always going to mill the opponent to death. It's just a reliable win condition in a basically control pile. It doesn't have like a super abundance of counterspell or single target interaction, but it just has board wipes, and that's kind of all we really need it to do. Because eventually, once the board's empty, yeah, we can just mill them and win. But it's not a requirement, and that's why I like it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, what? Spree doesn't work that way, you silly head. But at least we get to mill next turn. I've not seen those sleeves. Okay, so they're the up the beanstalk variation of possibly Yuna. Yeah, I just saw one. Okay, so we're gonna be testing this deck against Yuna, which ultimately I feel like is the ultimate test in the ladder right now. I feel like Yuna decks are absolutely bonkers. The amount of value that she brings. I don't think she needs to have ward on all enchantments. Even though it's on their turn, it's just ridiculous. It felt bad countering that, but at the same time, like, we're just trying to stall. We're just trying to make sure they can't really get as much value. They get to draw cards, but oh man, it's tempting to... So here's my thought. They're going to be drawing cards, which does basically help us mill them. Like, there's no way around it. They're going to be drawing cards or thinning their deck. So it's almost like I don't want to remove that beanstalk. I know that seems crazy, right? It's like we're just adding fuel to the fire, though. At the same time, it's hard not to do anything for 2 or 3 turns. You hate seeing somebody get value, but maybe it affects them. I got a little impatient there. That's okay though. Now if they throw another one out on the board, another beanstalk, that's okay. I'm gonna have to roll with that. I mean, temporary lockdown may end up sweeping it anyways, but goodness. Just when you thought these overlords were kind of on the way out, here we are dealing with them all over again. That's okay. I love all the overlords. They're all really cool. They don't feel like overpowered or anything. It is kind of bonkers that they do provide so much value so early in the game, but makes the game fun. Can't argue against it too much. But then things like Yuna happen. Okay, so we've got a lot of options. I'm sitting on this Jador, and boy, do I just really need to play it as a land. But I'm a sucker for punishing myself. I mean, I have 25 land in the deck, right? I swear, whenever you go up to 25 land, the game just says, you know what? You're not going to draw any lands. You don't need them. There's a Titan. He does mill. We're a fan of that. So go right on ahead. We're going to let that happen. There goes 2 more beanstalks. That's crazy. Okay. Yeah. We've got some incoming overlords to the battlefield, which I'm not excited about. So there's nothing else. Yeah, we definitely want to remove the Titan at this point. So yeah. Technically, yeah, them pulling things out of their graveyard does affect, like, river churn, for example. So we don't want that. I could leave him on the board for a turn and, you know, take some damage, but I think it's worth removing him right now. You know there's going to be more, though. We're look at their land compared to ours. It's just ridiculous. We have 3 to their 7. Now, of course, Overlord ramping. But aside from the one everywhere land, like, they've just hit their land drop every turn, and we haven't. But here we are. We're still rocking 20 health. And yeah, they have Overlords over there, but my goodness, more Overlords. Why not? Why not? We can handle this with 3 mana. Okay, there we go. That's what I get for not playing the aristocratic capital, though. So this takes care of this turn. We do have a couple of more turns if they don't play anything out onto the board, but why wouldn't they? They have a full grip. What I don't want to see is, well, Yuna, but also the one card that pulls creatures from the graveyard. It's the black enchantment. I do not want to see that. Oh man. Well, they are going through their deck slowly without us even having to mill them at all. Yeah, virtue of persistence. Okay, now I'm feeling the pressure. This is not good. We're gonna have to turn some jets on. Before that, though, we gotta get rid of Yuna. She is a must remove. If you don't already know that, unfortunately, they can just keep getting her back. I didn't think about it too much. They went with the Overlord. They must have one in hand for Yuna. I don't know why else they wouldn't pull Yuna. A 2-for-1 seems to be way better. Okay, that's pretty much the worst card that we can see. Virtue of Persistence and the Knights of the Round are definitely a problem. Okay. Are we going to get out of this? Man, okay. Authority of Consuls is nice against the Knights of the Round. It's not, it's just basically a band-aid, but it is decent. Temporary lockdown gets rid of beans, tokens. And that's it. That's unfortunate. Jace can mill. It's not going to be enough. Like, we gotta basically take care of some of this damage so we can survive one more turn. Yeah, because they get counters. Ugh. It feels really bad, but yep, temporary lockdown. I'm still holding on to this land like an idiot. I mean, at this point, I don't need it anymore. 5 mana is all we really need to have some fun. I wish we had the authority, but yeah, that lockdown had to happen. As long as we can survive, I think we'll be okay. Yeah, they're down to 13. We just need to play Jace. We need to survive this turn, play Jace, and we win. I bet they do not think that they're about to lose. Unless, I mean, they don't have counter spells. And if you didn't know, when you play a Planeswalker, it has priority, so you cannot, like, you get to plus or minus your Planeswalker before any interaction, which is really nice. So, okay, they brought out another Overlord, and we're just gonna say screw all that nonsense. Okay, yeah, we're good. 15. Don't accidentally do Phyrexian completed.
Phyrexia showed me the truth.
Oh, okay, nice. There it is.